And theirs as well.
Welcome back, all you lovely subscribers, to Who's Views. This week, JT and the Whotastic panel look at the one where the Doctor spent the episode standing still. But did this go down with a bang?
Stephen Moffat returns to Doctor Who, but was it too little, too late? Hello, boomers. Do you see what I did there? Oh, I'm so funny sometimes. I really am there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Who's Views Reviews. Here we are to talk about Boom. Nice to see you all. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lovely to see you all. Isn't it fabulous? Isn't it fabulous? Here we are for episode 3 of this new series of Doctor Who. As you can see, I am joined by Jodie. I am joined by third Doctor Ian. I've got Paul around somewhere. Honestly, he's with us as well somewhere. So yeah, we're all going to be looking at this very, very. So yeah. Oh wow, here we are then. Goodness me. Let's start with the. Let's start. Oh, here he is. There he is. Look at him. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We'll start with the glaringly obvious first, shall we? We'll start with the overnight before we come to talk about it. Yes, we had the overnight in this morning, didn't we, everybody? Boom, got an overnight on BBC One of 2.04 million, carrying on a tradition that has been going since 2018 of each episode shedding some viewers. So there you go. This is it. Now, again, I do have to point out this was not the consolidated rating. This is the overnight rating on BBC One only. We're not looking at the iPlayer. We're not looking at Disney Plus. We're not looking at the 7-day consolidated nonsense. We're just going to be looking at that because it's easier for us because we are live. Welcome. It was lovely to see you. So, yes, we'll be coming to the ratings later on in the ratings game. Also coming up for you, we've got the Wokometer. And, of course, we'll have your scores on the TARDIS doors. It is lovely to see you all. I have no idea I'm going to keep up with everybody in the chat this evening because we've got a huge audience watching us, but it's nice to see you.
Nice.
Well, they got there in the end.
For pantomime. There we are, yes.
At very reasonable rates. It's great to see you. Just Jordan is saying to us already, Moffat returned, but the viewers really didn't. And Paul, hello, Paul Out, and well done all for making it here considering the nice weather. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's absolutely stunning here in the UK, so it's absolutely wonderful. Michael is here saying, hello, JT, and I say, Harry, I'm standing on the landmine. Fair enough, yeah. So listen, keep your comments coming in, everybody. I'll try and keep up with you, but I'm going to start with this one here. Because Jodie, in all the many moons I've known you, you have been a Moffat fan for as long as I can remember. You've loved it since day one, haven't you, really? So was him coming back to Doctor Who for this episode something fabulous for you?
Well, it was better, but then I don't want to swap it because I mean I started with Press Gang, so you know we are talking a very long time, and then coupling, and you know I love Stephen Moffat's writings. However, it was better, but then what was previous was awful. So yeah, my kids liked it more, but I just feel the writing was better. Yes, it was. But it's still not the Doctor Who that I love, and it's not being written like he is Doctor Who or the Doctor. It just, I don't know.
He's not even Doctor Who.
It's like they're believing their own press now. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's lost something. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
It was too long standing on a landmine, certainly.
Listen, coming from Jodie, because years ago, Jodie and I were having a coffee, and this was just after the announcement that Moffat was taking over from RTD, and I was on the wall, I was on the fence. Do you remember this, Joe? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know if you can carry off a series. And Jodie's like, yes, you can. It's going to be brilliant. Yeah, it's going to be brilliant. So coming from Jodie here, that you've just encapsulated how I feel about this as well. Guys, what about you? You two, what were you thinking about Boom?
Well,
Sounds like a Eurovision song, doesn't it? Really,
it does a bit. Boom, bang, a bang, doesn't it? It's kind of. It's actually. I actually feel like Jodie said, it was better than the last two episodes, but that's not much of a meter, is it? To be honest, but it's on a measure. It's kind of. I liked bits of it. Some nice bits of it, and some nice moments. That the actual that thing we thought was some kind of sex toy that he was holding in the picture looks. Remember the kind of little coffin thing for the people
that was
who were
horrible,
killed.
wasn't it?
That was really gross. That smelting thing.
Yeah,
and I swear, I don't know if it was just my imagination, but at the bottom of it looked like an eye sticking.
It was an eyeball.
There was.
That was horrible. There's a lot of darkness
shooting
in this.
He's thumbing it when he grabbed it. I was like, ah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of darkness in this, which I wasn't expecting, because it has become very sort of light-hearted. But there's a lot of darkness in this, which I really liked, and I thought. I really enjoyed. You were saying before, JT, that you liked Millie, and I thought she was really good in this episode. I thought particularly, and her relationship with Shooty was better. But every time he said "honey," I was taken out of it. That was
don't talk to me about that.
Yeah.
This is that's RTD's influence, isn't it? I think putting in that sort of thing there, putting that word in. The Doctor saying "honey" to people. That's more Mr. Gatwa. And yes, I'm saying Mr. Gatwa. It's him, isn't it? More than the actual character that we know and love. Can you see Peter Davison's Doctor or Colin or Tom or any of the others saying honey?
When they do it, I think Matt Smith did it. You know, I think it's that speech he's got to the Rings of Akaten. He does that, give it all, baby, and all that kind of stuff. It's just really, don't say baby. It's not Doctor at all. It just sounds terrible.
The brilliant thing about when Matt Smith would do it, though, because Moffat would usually be writing it.
Yeah.
He would turn around and say, "Oh, not doing that again," because it showed how unsuitable it was for the Doctor. You know.
Yeah.
What about you?
Just goes to show, you see at conventions, you get fans to read out speeches the Doctors have done, and you've had Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy doing that speech from Rings of Akaten. Can you imagine one of them doing one of the honey speeches? That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Oh no! Oh god! Oh, I'm getting a headache. Everybody, I'm getting a migraine already. I'm getting a migraine. It's lovely to see you all in the chat, by the way. I'm trying to keep up with you. Keep them all coming. Hello to you all, because we can't say hello to you individually now because there's too many of you. Hello to everybody. Ian, what were your first impressions?
I mean, Moffat was back.
He was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit like you had a leak in your sewer pipe and you had it fixed, and then you looked up and there was shit leaking out somewhere else. You know, it was just
very topical. Have you been watching the news?
I suppose it is, isn't it? It was underwhelming. It was derivative. I mean, there was bits of it that I liked. I agree. I think Millie was better than she had been. It was her best one so far. And there's hope for her, so naturally they're getting rid of her. But I think the best thing about Gatwa is that he was stuck still for the majority of the episode, so you couldn't have that frantic running around like he's, I don't know, got something jammed somewhere on, turned up to 11. And the fact that he had to stand still and calmed him down a bit. And some of the dialogue calmed down with him. But I mean, as soon as it was switched off, he was pinging around like a firework, wasn't he? Bouncing off walls. He was all over the place and giving it all this again. And you just immediately disconnect from it completely. I mean, it was an interesting concept, but again, it wasn't a new concept, but it was definitely typical Moffat. I don't think he'd stepped it up at all. I don't think it met its hype, and it was full of completely unnecessary things. You know, it's Moffat goes for the low-hanging fruit a lot of the time. He goes for the easy targets. So, you know, you've got the clergy with the guns, and of course they're Anglicans, and it's very clear that they're Anglicans because Anglicans, you know, the Church of England, so it's an easy shot. I mean, the leadership of the Church of England is as wet as anything anyway, so they're not going to do or say anything at all, because, you know, try doing it with Islam I'd love to see that, but of course
Nah.
he doesn't have the balls.
Well,
and
you
it's
saw what happened
never
to
gonna
Salman
happen.
Rushdie. You can't do that. You can't do that. So
Yeah, exactly. They just
Yeah.
they just don't have the balls, and all the other stuff that he throws in, all the unnecessary comments. They you know, and I will grab the opportunity of being the first one to say it. The lesbian Gymkhana. I mean,
that's why I said other lesbian activities are available.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
You had-
clear, yeah.
You had to Google what that was exactly and got some very, very strange pictures.
It's just
So there
in
you
my
go.
life, I have never been to a straight person's party.
No.
Yeah, because
haven't
you don't
Where
announce
does this
it,
come
do you? You don't go,
from?
I'm going to a straight person's party or a straight person's wedding. You don't do that, do you?
No.
Can I just clarify that's not because she's known me for the 30 odd years. It's nothing to do.
It's just odd, Justin.
it is really
It's
odd.
odd.
It is really- Is this where they've got so much equality? They actually have more rights than other people because they can have their own parties and we can't.
Yeah.
Is that
But
where
it's
it goes?
so shoehorned into the dialogue,
Yeah.
isn't it? Just
I didn't- I didn't like the way that was done. It was like being hit over the head with a brick. It was like, you know, fine, have your agenda, but for God's sake, don't. I mean, that was just
Yeah.
crude,
Yeah.
the way it was done.
Yeah.
You know, it is such a shame, isn't it? Because I was saying on our Friday show on Headlines, and I've said it before on this one, I was actually sort of looking forward to this tentatively, not
Mhm.
rah, rah, rah. But this, for me, watching this, I thought it started really well. I thought it was quite an
Mhm.
interesting build up on that. But then it sort of, it didn't grip me as much as I expected it to. I mean, the whole premise of the Doctor not being able to move, thereby taking away exactly what he treasures, which is his ability to move and his freedom, and taking that away from him, I thought it would give more to the story, and I thought it would be more sort of tense. And they were going on about this being tense, and I thought, oh, this could be quite interesting. I didn't get that at all. In fact, some of the dialogue you guys were saying that was very ridiculous as well. I don't think the tension was right up there. I think if this had been in a 13-episode Moffat season, this would have been one of those mediocre ones surrounded by brilliance. Does that make sense? And you would have watched this and thought, that's okay. That was an okay one. But the week after would have been something big and bold and fantastic. Because I came away thinking, nah, it's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nah.
The best bit of the whole show, in my opinion, was the bit before the titles. It was done really well.
Yes.
Did you not
was
think it took too
excellent.
long to get to the cliffhanger, though? Because I always feel when they make the cold opens really, really long, and then the titles come in, you're taken out of it because it should have been shorter than carried on after the titles.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah.
But I thought it was still really good compared to the rest of the show, which I really struggled with. I felt really sorry for the little girl. Her part was written, in my opinion, the worst of anyone's part, because God love her, they were making her sort of happy about her dad when she just found out her dad was dead.
Yeah.
That didn't make sense to me. That is not how a child reacts when their whole life collapses in front of them.
Yeah, that was the playing on this whole thing about faith and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was just, to me, it wasn't normal.
I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying about that. It's hard to describe about that as well. It just didn't lock, did it?
It didn't work for me at all.
Properly. Yeah. I'm not sure what it is about that, but there would have been some.
And it wasn't the kid's fault. The kid did exactly what was asked of her.
Oh yeah, she was fine. Yeah. As children go in
Doctor
Who, I thought she was great.
Yeah, she's better than Romulus and Remus, put it that way. Yeah.
Well, we've had some dodgy youngsters in Doctor Who, haven't we? This little girl I didn't mind at all.
Yeah.
I think she actually was, the way she acted on this, she actually understood that whole thing about Daddy's not dead. He's just gone on somewhere, that whole faith type thing. And she was resolute. She was quite firm in that as well, even though she's faced with a version of the Doctor that is actually ridiculing that, which for me was a bit problematic.
It was just uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was just, why is he doing that? The Doctor's been around for all these centuries. He knows now, he's a very wise old man by this point, supposedly. He wouldn't necessarily, I don't think he would do that. I mean, I think he would keep his...
For all the kind of openness and all the kind of inclusiveness, it's making the Doctor very narrow-minded, don't you think?
Yeah, that's a good point there, actually. I think it is. He's becoming quite closed-minded, isn't he, really? And this came through in this episode. It was less boom and more boo-hoo, says Alpha Storm. And Lisa's telling us, shooting out with mumbled all his lines, it was that bad. Daniel Neighbor, nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. I'm more excited getting the Celestial Toy Maker Blu-ray next month. That's another story completely.
That's story. Yeah.
And Michael is telling us, I like Boom, but it had the same problem as Space Babies and The Devil's Cord. What was that, Michael? Let me know. Put it in there. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see everybody, actually. Bobby is saying the crying man doctor. Oh, the crying.
Yeah.
What was that about, everyone?
Do you not think he's making the Doctor look a bit, Russell T and Stephen Moffat, making the Doctor look a bit stupid? He was running away from things all the time. And in this episode, he runs towards danger. Did he not learn anything from San Francisco when Sylvester McCoy opened the door and got shot? He's not learned anything at all, has he, really?
Well, neither of the writers. Because you are right, there is a contradiction here. It's to get him to the story as possible. Get him to
and
that.
He's got super hearing now as well. What was that?
Yeah, through the doors.
Yeah.
But that was something else that I don't know. Richard's summing up here. It was slightly better. Well, that's better than nothing. I'll tell you something though, Richard and others there. I don't understand this adoration it's had since it dropped on the iPlayer yesterday and after the BBC One broadcast yesterday. I think the adoration and some of the of our fellow fans saying, "Oh my God, that was real Doctor Who. That was the best Doctor Who in years." I think it's because people have just been fed a load of crap for quite some time now. So when Moffat comes along as well, and let's face it, he's a smashing writer. You could actually see it in that episode last night. He understood what Doctor Who was, but I'm wondering how much of it was interfered with to push it into where they think the 14th Doctor is, because there were elements where I could see Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi doing something.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said earlier on. I think there was moments of Ncuti being quite strong, and then he broke it by the dialogue not sounding very doctory. That was my problem I had with it.
Yeah, exactly. Matt's actually saying here to us, Matt532, it was a better episode, but this Doctor isn't working for me. Stop crying and be the Doctor. Had it been just the once, i.e. when he sees his companion shot and killed, basically, I could have understood that because he's failed everything, hasn't he? You know, he's failed his companion. He can't do anything. He's stuck. I could understand that even from a Time Lord's point of view. But it's interesting to think that other doctors would have got angry at that point. Ncuti's Doctor cries, but he cries how many times? 3 or 4 in the episode. It didn't smack with me that at all. I just don't. It's one of RTD's. I've got to make him more today. Make him more 2024, isn't it?
But it's more 2024 if you're a particular type of male, and I use male advisedly. You know, it's the majority of men wouldn't cry at every opportunity. Yeah, he only did it about 4 times, but one was for 10 minutes, one was for 15 minutes, one was for 5 minutes, and he was crying for 20 minutes as well. So it's pretty much the whole damned episode. And it's just, it doesn't say anything. It's just that kind of, you know, male that they describe with the Q word, probably do cry all the time. Would you like a chai latte? You know, it's like, dear God.
What the hell's a chai latte?
It just shows, though, he got his acting module in crying. He got that, and he did that really well. Yeah.
Matthew is saying to us, everybody, Matthew Burrows is saying, I thought it was good Moff, but not classic Moff. I'd agree with that. Good performances. Gatwa was quite good. Millie was terrible. Okay. And Darren App is with us here. Credit where it's due. I thought that was better. Good script with some proper sci-fi. Ncuti and Millie, however, just don't work. They have no chemistry. He has no gravitas and she has no presence. Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Darren. Keep them coming. And John is saying to us here, I've heard a rumor that Disney executives are having a meeting soon about Nurse What, rumor. Well, we covered that on this particular show just a few days ago. So if you want to go and have a look at our report on that, go and have a look at it. I can't remember which one it is. Just watch them all. There we go. Divining Dragon is saying to us here, Doctor Who doesn't use terms of endearment because it doesn't really work for his character. And just Jordan, hello, lovely. I thought there were definite Doctor moments in this, but then he just randomly dances at the strangest times. There is an inconsistency.
I thought that bit, I can write about it by using the drums was a bit odd. That was really odd. Yeah.
Which bit?
When he said about, I should keep a diary or something like that, and he said, maybe I should write it. Maybe I could do it with drums. I can do it. You know, what is he talking about? I've no idea.
Yeah. Another point there, that's the bit where I recognise the Matt Smith element, because Matt Smith's Doctor would sometimes go off on these little tangents and then bring himself back.
Yeah.
But Matt Smith got away with it because he was able to do that because that was his thing. That Moffat would throw those things in for him because he would be able to say, oh, look, blah, 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 and then
But
doesn't
Matt
quite
Smith
work.
came over as quite otherworldly.
Yeah,
For a
Totally.
young man, he was
Yeah.
very good at that.
he was
Yeah.
superb
Well,
at it. Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Jodie's a proper character actor, and we see
Yeah.
that now he's got a little bit older in the roles he's doing. He was actually learning his craft with Doctor Who, and he's a proper good, insanely good character actor. I don't know if it came off on this at all. I don't want to dish Shooty, but I still don't see the Doctor in him at all.
No.
Don't
But
see
that's
it.
because I think it's been written. The writing is too much about advancing personal agendas rather than about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a real
totally,
shame
yeah.
because I just don't feel Doctor Who is the place for that. There is a place for that. There is in drama. There is.
Yeah.
On Channel
But it's
4 at 9
Just
o'clock.
not
probably.
Doctor Who. It's meant to be fun and it's meant to be for the family.
I've
Yeah.
no problem with being different levels and you have a bit of agenda, but as long as it's not shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
If it serves the story, that's okay. But it does seem to be there just instead of the story, like you're saying, Jodie, you know?
Yeah.
I just-
Hello and welcome to Whose Views to Pharaoh Red. Sorry, Joe. This episode was better, definitely a Moffat motive, but goddamn was that little girl annoying. Oh, good for you for telling us that, Pharaoh Red. It's nice to see you. What were we going to say, Joe?
No, I was just going to say that I just feel that it's not the film that it's not a TV show now you can sit down easily with your family and it's meant to be goodies and baddies to me. It's meant to be that basic. It's I go back to, like, let's take Genesis of the Daleks, for example. When Tom Baker had the chance to flip the switch on the Daleks, and there was the whole, can I do this? It's killing off a whole race. That is the level of morality that Doctor Who should be. This picking political stuff that's relevant to today and not more relevant to wider history is just weird. It's not going to age well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, it won't. Hello and welcome to Whose Views Pick of the Day, who's saying, whatever, I loved it. Great. Tell us what you liked about it. I'll try and find you in the chat. What exactly did you like about it? Because for us, as you can see, it was nearly there, but it wasn't fully there. So
Can I say one thing that I quite liked? I quite liked those sinister robot ambulance type things. They were quite interesting. I quite liked them. They were very much like the nodes in Science in the Library, the things that the heads turn round and they've got a human head. They're a bit like them. As Ian was saying, there's a lot of things he's drawn on from other stories of his own, and that was one of them. It's very like that, but I like them. They're really quite creepy. I love that kind of nursey thing. It's just be a scratch when you get a blood test or something, and these things shoot into your body. That was quite clever, quite dark. I like that.
Yeah, they did remind. Obviously, I'm watching with my family on this thing. Just to clarify that. So yeah, I'm watching this with my family live on BBC One, and of course, my mother turned around and said, "Oh look, they're like Daleks." And I understood what she said. I understood what she was meaning there, because the way they moved, the shape of them, what they could do, the fact that they were standing on that sort of precipice there.
Well, when they trundled up to the top of that, I thought Frontier in Space for a minute. When they went up, three of them up the hill.
We've got Raymond saying to us here, the best actor was the dad that was killed off early, or the deceased straight men. And Gore Vidal is saying to us, why isn't the Doctor trying to figure out why the snow mysteriously appears? There are so many. I'm already getting this. We're now 4 episodes into this new run, and I'm including the Christmas thing.
Yeah.
There seems to be so many running things. I'm getting a bit bored already.
Yeah, well, I've got a few theories on that if you want to hear them, if you've got time.
Go ahead.
You're probably slipped into a coma, but you may have noticed, you may have noticed that the bit when Millie gets, Ruby gets killed and the robot's trying to revive her, and they have an age, and he says she's 3080 or something bizarre like that, which is really, really odd. So I think there's more to this. I wondered, because RTD is following the Timeless Child, I wonder maybe Millie could be the Timeless Child and not the Doctor, and there could be a continuation of that she perhaps help create the Time Lord regeneration energy, and that's what will start. So they're going to use that as a theme rather than making the Doctor. So you might carry it through, but the Doctor, you might tweak it slightly. Yeah. Wake up, GT, wake up.
Oh, sorry.
And my other theory was that she could be a Time Lord.
Yes, that was mine.
Yeah. And the other women in it, like women you keep seeing, Susan Twist is actually what's her name is Ruby, and so is what's her name from EastEnders, Rita Dobson is actually Ruby as well. They're all the same person. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's a while since we've had the equivalent of a Romana. I wondered if they'd gone down that route because they don't have an original thought. You've got to remember that as well.
Yeah,
They always borrow from someone previously.
Yeah.
And I'm probably getting more credit than the.
Oh, that wasn't me. He's gone.
He was giving them way too much credit, and they were just. Didn't it say she was?
Every time, yeah. I'm sure you've got a switch there, JT. You can just, it's a trap door type thing, and I go down every time. I bet, yeah.
Did it not say that she was 3,000 years old because it was 3,000 years in the future?
That's what I thought, Ian. I thought it was nice and simple.
I thought it was her age myself, but anyway, yeah.
No, okay. John is saying to us, hello, John. He's saying Gatwa's accent changed in one or two scenes. I noticed that too, mate. I thought, and why the crying? Why the crying? The doctor does not cry. I agree with that. Yes, his accent did change because I heard that and I got a bit confused myself. I think, how come on, get the character and get the consistency. But yes, you're right about the whole the crying thing. I just can't accept that at all.
At the end of the, going a bit left field, but at the end of the novelization of The Green Death by Malcolm Hook, and Joe Grant's left, and the doctor's driving off into the sunset, and I believe it says a single tear dropped from the doctor's 750 down the doctor's 750-year-old face or something like that. And I could accept as a child reading that at the time, because it didn't happen on TV, but I could accept at the time reading that the doctor would shed a tear at losing Joe Grant, because he had that incredible bond built up over several years and lots of adventures. But blubbing like somebody's just kicked him in the nax every 5 seconds is just embarrassing. And not convincing at all.
It needs to be used sparingly. It's like in Planet of the Spiders when John Pertwee's scared in the Cave of Crystal and the Great One's playing with him and you can see the terror in his face. When you do that sparingly, it works really, really well. If you overdo it, it just kills any impact the Doctor has.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue. I mean, you're absolutely right, but I don't think this particular Doctor has had an impact at all.
No.
And I can't put I so want to like him.
Yeah,
so do I. Yeah.
But so far, I haven't seen anything that's maybe gone. There's the Doctor. That's the Doctor. You know, there's nothing for me that cemented that whole thing there about. I recognize this version. This is. I mean, I keep saying this is a reboot. We have to bear that in mind. This is a reboot. This is series 1 of Disney Who. They keep saying it's the 15th incarnation. It's not. It's number 1.
Yeah,
it's number 1.
As we said, we were talking about Matt Smith earlier. When Matt Smith became the Doctor, I thought he was the Doctor immediately. From the minute he regenerated in the TARDIS, you know, I'm a girl, all that kind of stuff. I loved all that. It's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
He caught it.
He was following Tennant, and that was a hard shout.
It really was, wasn't it? It's like Davison coming after Tom, Joe. Do you know?
Absolutely.
But he nailed it. I mean, I liked him the same time as Paul in that regeneration scene at the end of at the end of that story, the end of Time Part 2. I thought, oh my God, there's the Doctor. I saw him immediately. I thought, yes, that's it. He's got it. And that again shows how brilliant Matt Smith was and how he grasped it and went, this is mine now, and I'm going with it. But again, it hasn't happened for me yet. But then again, I have to say, I didn't see the Doctor and David Tennant until his last series.
See, I did. I did love Tennant.
Wound me up.
Sorry, I just did. I love Tennant.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know you did, but I couldn't see it.
Certainly, my kids loved Tennant. My kids also loved Matt Smith. They enjoyed Peter Capaldi. They thought the writing sometimes wasn't great for Capaldi, but they loved Capaldi, the Doctor. I don't know. I'm really struggling because I think he can act, but I don't think he really understands the Doctor.
Because he's probably been told this is a brand new page,
yes,
a brand new version, and
I
this
think
is what we're doing. And because
I hate to say it, but there's a bit of me just doesn't like the fact he doesn't have an outfit.
We're the same. I think we were saying the other night, actually, on one of our shows, that could be the problem for me, is the fact that I need possibly the template of a Doctor.
But,
and it maybe sounds childish, but
it does. Yeah,
I agree. But I saw that the next week's one looks like they're going to a Crossroads convention. He's going as Benny.
Hello to all the Crossroads fans out there, because there are millions of them. So hello to you. Paul is saying to us here, Paul Roughton is saying to us, better, but still moments that took me out of it. A lot of Moffat tropes Rushed, saccharine ending, empty, meaningful sayings, dancing like a tit. Not enough to get me back next week, but it was okay. I know exactly what you mean there. And Raymond is also saying to us, the saccharine ending is what felt off to me. Tennant does suffer some trauma after midnight. Shooty seems to forget it straight away. Plus, wasn't the Doctor injured? Was he? I didn't. Oh yeah, in his arm. You mean when that thing went into him?
Yeah.
Did anyone think when he was about to explode, he looked like Lionel Richie? It was interesting when he went kind of, that kind of light came through him. No, maybe just me. Yeah,
it was just you. Dino V. It was an improvement, but that isn't hard. Correct. Writing better, but boring overall. But lesbian mention, FFS. Not saying that. It is never going to stop. I fell asleep, and unfortunately, the Doctor got off the mine.
Yeah, Money and Regeneration on episode 4. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Oh.
Funny if you'd just stepped straight on another one.
Yeah. I mean, that we know, because we talked about this. Stephen Moffat has gone on record this week to say this particular story, this episode, was all inspired from the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, the mighty Tom Baker, stepping on the landmine in Genesis of the Daleks. So it was inspired by that scene from all those years ago. But that was played so much. I don't know. There was a certain class to that scene. This had a whole 40 minutes or something built around it.
Do you know what Moffat had? Moffat had the cheek to say that he said that it was brilliantly done in Genesis, but the Doctor got out of it too easily. It was brilliantly played, and you can't knock that at all, regardless of the fact it was only 5 minutes. But it was a great moment, classic moment. You can't criticize that at all.
Whoa, yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for this particular show. If you are new to us, welcome to Who's Views. Please subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see you coming back, because we're looking at these things every week here on the channel. Yeah, yes, we are.
Not long now, nearly done.
Well, I was thinking actually after this, I thought next week we're halfway through. Isn't that terrible?
That's
the
attitude, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. It really is terrible. But it was true. John is saying to us in the chat here, it was low tension. That's interesting, isn't it? And Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, is saying, boom, it's more like bust. Boom was a blast, said Doug. You enjoyed it, didn't you, Doug? So that's good to know. And Ben, hiya, Ben. Nice to see you. The Doctor had some good lines at points. See, again, I'm afraid I can't remember them. Can't retain the dialogue. Maybe I'm getting old.
I didn't have to. Well, I remember watching the specials. I had to put the subtitles on because I had trouble understanding David Tennant. But I got most of Shooty's stuff. But there was a few moments I didn't quite pick up on.
Just Jordan saying to us here, didn't someone say this was Shooty's favorite episode? Okay. Yes, absolutely. It was confirmed in the week in one of the many articles that I was looking at both online.
Was this the best we expect?
That's what I was just about to ask you guys, because Shooty said that this was his favorite episode of the first 8 in the first series. This was this was his favorite. So what do you make of that? Could that be the fact here, Joe?
I don't know what to say, really. I mean, it was better, but it was more relief that I felt that it was better, but I didn't feel joy. I wanted to feel joy. I wanted to think this is really going to take off and it's going to, smash the naysayers and it's going to work somehow. But I didn't get that feeling. I hate to say it. It wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't great.
It wasn't, as I said, it wasn't as bad as the 2 pieces of crap we were given last week. The embarrassing, terrible episodes we were given last week. This was a step up. This you could actually watch. Not that I would watch it again. I don't think I would go out of my way to watch this again.
No, not
if it came on the television, if it was halfway through, for example, I probably would give it another look. So I think that's, as I said, I think that's why everybody's going on about, this was brilliant, this was Doctor Who, because you've had loads and loads which have just not been, including the Christmas one and the 3 things we got last year with Tennant and Tate, and then you lot lived through the Whittaker era.
I think they've fallen too much in love with the idea of cheese.
Oh,
that's what started to go wrong, I feel, with Doctor Who way back. I mean way back. I don't mean the Shooties, and I certainly don't mean with even the previous Doctor. I mean way back, they started to go for cheesiness, and I just felt that isn't the way I wanted to see the Doctor Who go at all. I wanted to see my kids, behind the sofa like I was, and there's no element of that at the moment, really.
Was it? I must have been the only one. I was like that, waiting for the alarm to go off, but it didn't. Yeah.
I mean, that should have been quite. Do you remember 24? Do you remember the series 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, now that was real tension, wasn't it? For those of us
Yeah.
that were there at the time watching that, that was must-see television for quite a while, because the way they delivered that was just beautiful, because you're living that hour over 24 hours, aren't you, in that day over 24 episodes. And then everybody sort of tried to jump on that bandwagon and nobody really got it right. But that sort of feeling, I think I should have been feeling in this episode, because there's that point where you actually think, how is he going to get out of this? And it is a bit of the usual, no disrespect, Mr. Moffat, but it was the usual sort of over the top, clever sort of, oh, this is how you get out of it with a bit of AI, which is the current thing. It's the current thing, isn't it? So let's just throw it in.
When they said about algorithms, I thought about YouTube immediately, and people take the subs away. That's what came to my mind.
Well, thank God it wasn't the Sonic, though, anyway, that was coming out, you know?
Yeah.
I quite liked some of the aspects of the AI, though. I thought, as I say, those ambulances, they were quite clever.
Yeah.
I liked the projections of people. That was done quite well. I quite like the idea of it being AI. I just think Terminator did it better.
Yeah.
And actually did it in a time when it didn't exist. So, I mean, I just feel they could be cleverer now, and they weren't cleverer.
I wonder how much everybody of an influence Disney is having, he says, bringing us to a little story he's got here. Have a look at this. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. Russell T. Davies talks bringing Doctor Who to a new audience and working with Disney. We're presenting this as a new show, says the returned showrunner, about the beloved BBC series making a worldwide debut for the first time on streamer Disney+. The Hollywood Reporter published the first part of this interview ahead of Doctor Who's Disney Plus launch. Now Davies digs into spoilers from the first 2 episodes and talks about bringing the Doctor's sense of humor to a US audience. There are no Disney notes, he says. They're just as much up for this adventure as the rest of us. When you brought Doctor Who back to television in 2005, the Hollywood Reporter asked Davies, you had burping bins and farting aliens. And now, almost 20 years later in Space Babies, you've had Villain, the Bogeyman, and Monster made of boogers, and farting space stations. Russell then replies, it's a release of methane, I think you'll find. Laughs. I love that. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The fact that 19 years later, you can refer to something that happened in any other drama 19 years ago. Go on, you can't. I know what's memorable. I know what works. I know what stays in the memory. And that's absolutely one of them. And I love that stuff. The whole of Space Babies is based on a pun. It's a pun-based show. And I think that's glorious. I think that it's kind of an obvious thing to say in interviews that it's a pun for the kids. I don't think puns work like that. I think adults love to read books as much as children do. I think the puns are for the adults and the scares are for the kids, actually. The use of that word is always puzzling. The crossover with Bogeyman, it's appalling. But my favorite thing about it is how much the Doctor laughs. We're now many years into the Doctor Who revival and we're presenting this as a new show. So in episode 1, to have the Doctor laughing that much, that's the glorious thing about it. He thinks it's so funny. I have never seen the Doctor laugh at a reveal that much. Can you? Have you ever seen that happen in Doctor Who? Never. The Hollywood Reporter continues, there's a moment where the Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver to enable Ruby's phone to call her mum, even though they are thousands of years apart. That's a lovely callback to your 2005 episode, The End of the World, where the 9th Doctor did the very same thing for Rose. Yes, it is, says Davies. It's what he'd do. I remember sitting writing that thinking, oh gosh, I did that. I've done that before. And then I thought, well, I did it 19 years ago and this is a brand new audience. But it's very important that she doesn't feel separated and abandoned from her family. So there's no way he can do it again because it's a good scene. It's what he does. It's what he'd do, sorry. It needs reminding. This time when Ruby gets her phone zapped, she says, how much did that cost? Rose wouldn't have thought of that. There's something a lot more savvy about it. Ruby's very aware of that 50 quid she got for a gig last night, and that's her first question. What does that cost? I like that. In the opening of The Devil's Chord, says Hollywood Reporter, is the Doctor Who theme tune playing on the TARDIS jukebox? I'm just not going to answer the question. How can that be? And you know, I put things like that in knowing that people will discuss that for the next 60 years. It's a glorious opening, isn't it? I love it. I was slightly disappointed, said the Hollywood Reporter, that the Doctor didn't do a decomposing gag after the Maestro meets their end. Yes, I thought about it at the end, says Davies, but I thought that would really sound like Maestro is dead. And if there's ever a character ripe for return, It's Maestro. You're getting the feeling here. Later in
Yeah.
that episode, there's a great gag for film students. I thought that was non-diegetic. Oh, thank you, says Davies. Thank you for getting that joke, because there are plenty of people on the production team I had to explain that to. And then you get people who don't understand the joke and they go, can we cut it? And in many ways, it's the ultimate joke that they're actually being attacked by Murray Gold's music. Murray Gold is such an intrinsic part of the show, and he appears, hooray, outrageously, he gets a credit. He's playing himself, I noticed. Yes, he existed in 1963. He's immortal and eternal and will always be with us. Sticking with cameos, you also have Shirley Ballas and Johannes Radaby from Strictly Come Dancing. Shirley and Johannes, how could we resist? I was on set that day. I made sure of that. Johannes and I were born on the same day, different years, obviously, yet both of us are twins. And how did Disney react to the moment in Space Babies where a baby brandishes the flamethrower? Everybody loved that. It's one of the best moments in the world. They're fantastic. Whatever you might think, there are no Disney notes. You look at their output, it's wild. It covers all sorts of stuff. They're just as much up for this adventure. The rest of us, it's great.
Taxi for Russell T Davies.
So
Yeah.
he actually does there, Joe, confirm that they are reusing ideas.
Yes, but it's the way they reuse them. They're not really clever about it. I think he thinks he's clever about it, but he's not reusing them and then really making them more original. You know, I don't know. He's not as clever as he thinks he is.
But he believes his own notes now, doesn't he?
I guess you're laughing about Disney. No notes from Disney. Really? Liar, liar, bum's on fire.
Well, he's
there.
confirmed before that there were, didn't he, Ian?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the thing I found odd then is, given they are trying to sell this, I would imagine, to the American audience,
Yes.
why go anti-religion then? Because they definitely did.
Yeah.
That was an odd shout.
Yeah.
And the anti-abortion stuff as well. The abortion stuff rather on the Space Babies as well. That's obviously a difficult topic to cover in America as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So,
Yeah, let's get on to that thing, because a lot of fans have thank you for joining us, everybody. Nice to see you all. You have mentioned the clerics before, so let's now, are these supposed to be the same clerics that, of course, have appeared in the show before?
yeah, and Time of the Angels and Matt Smith's first season.
So this is a
Robert-
Moffat creation.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Except they were done a bit more subtly with the costumes. They didn't have the dog collars, I don't remember.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
It's
can't
very
remember.
obvious signposting this time.
Yeah, it's
They're
like, look,
really
I'm in the church.
driving the point.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Not a hijab in sight.
I'm surprised that the female ones weren't dressed like nuns. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Instead, but
Nuns with guns.
nuns
Now
with
there's-
guns. There's a series I'd watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember them being as what's the word? As obvious in Time of the Angels.
Yeah, they're more subtle. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were all. It was didn't in Time of the Angels, wasn't it? It's a long time ago, so if I'm speaking crap, I apologize. But didn't the Doctor sort of explain that it had all moved on, so that the religious faith had come together with war or something like that, based on what had happened in history? I don't know, can't remember. But do you know what I mean?
Something
Was
like
it?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this time around, it just strikes me they wouldn't do this with any other religion, though, would they?
Well, it's too dangerous, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's a bit hypocritical in a sense. So if you're going to
It
do
is,
it, don't
yeah.
probably don't do it. Just leave it alone. And because I did notice today that some people, not we's, had got a little bit sort of, what's that about? And obviously switched off or switched over.
Well, I'd be interested. They've talked about potentially doing an episode that involves race because Shooty's back,
Yes.
and they're going to do something like that. If that's going to be aimed at American audience, how's that going to work? So
You've got to be careful with this stuff because we know that they are going out for an international audience now more than the British audience, and these things are going to resonate because they don't really understand what's going on over there. They think they do, but they don't, do they? Because they're based here. They might live over there, and but all they're seeing over there around the world is show business type of stuff, which we know it's not true.
American shows don't try and make themselves British for us, and I don't think they should. I think they do what they do very, very well. So I don't see why we should be trying to Americanize something that is intrinsically British. And half the reason it's got the following in the States it has is because it was the show it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point of this, isn't it? By trying to make it to a global audience, they're actually destroying the Britishness of this.
Yes.
You know,
and I like the Britishness of it. I watch American shows as well as British shows. This is not a slagging off of the US whatsoever. I have lots of different shows I love and watch.
Yeah.
But one of the appeals for me about Doctor Who is that it is intrinsically British.
Absolutely. And that's what our American fans that we know from this channel, they love that still about that. The fact that it wasn't their own television. Because they get that every day. So when something like Doctor Who comes along, it's a breath of fresh air for them. But when it starts to emulate what their television's like, they're bound to get a little bit bored. You know, it's going to alienate them just as much as it does here. Doug's saying to you, Jodie, I agree with Jodie, there are no behind the sofa moments. I think we may get that with 73 Yards, which is the next episode. Unfortunately, it would be all style over substance after that until Moffat's Christmas show. We'll soon see.
I think the next episode looks like a reworking of Midnight again, to be honest. It's in a pub instead of a bus, you know. Yeah.
Oh well, remember that so we can talk
There's
about
lots
that.
of knocking I heard in the trailer. It's a bit like that. I mean, there's a knock at the door.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My dogs do that as well. It's fine. It's okay.
That was a comment there. That's fine. They weren't as obvious in Time and the Angel, says Divining Dragon, and Raymond is saying to us here, it wasn't anti-religion, it was anti-Christianity. That's right, actually, isn't it? Yeah. And Jacob is saying to us, I don't really get why they needed a religious group at all. The story wouldn't have lost anything.
Well,
It was just a military force. Yeah, exactly.
I think it was more specific than anti-Christianity, because that would include Catholicism, and they were specifically Anglican, which is Church of England. Yeah. So they really doubled down on focusing in on one particular strand of organized religion. Yeah, it was just just another way of being divisive, really.
But unnecessarily so. Why are they trying to do this? Are they deliberately trying to make things, I don't know, awkward for certain groups of people? It's weird.
Are they trying to make it a failure on purpose? Is that what they're trying to do?
Lisa's put a point up there. I will cleanse my soul after this rubbish by watching The Demons tonight.
Good choice.
Set in a church, set in a country church, so it's either Catholic or Anglican. It's a traditional British church, and that's as far as the religious angle goes. He's a vicar, or he's posing as a vicar. So there's a religious angle, and there's black magic and everything else, but there is nothing in that you could possibly get offended about. And at the time, I think the only thing anybody ever got offended about in 1971 was blowing up the church, which they haven't realised was a model. And
bless them.
But you don't need to get people pissed off like that. But they do. But again, it's the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy targets, because Moffat ultimately is a coward. If you want to do it, go for it. You know, let's make it about fundamentalist Islam and see what happens.
I'm just with what Jodie's saying, that I don't understand why all this is now there. Why couldn't it just just Jordan was saying there as well, why couldn't it have just been a military force or something like that? I did like the twist in the story though, which was about the military force had already lost because they were trapped in that whole thing about some organizations selling them things. That I could actually be happening where we are today and moving forward.
That was relatable.
Yeah, that was quite funny.
Also the idea of you being, if you're becoming a burden on people, and the fact that if you're sick you're going to be just put to sleep, and that's very much in the kind of in terms of euthanasia and that kind of stuff, isn't it? Very much like that.
Yeah
in the story as well.
Also very topical at the moment.
Oh,
I just feel that what they should have been mocking was not, Anglican, there was no reasoning behind why they were mocking Anglican. To me, it should have been, if they wanted to go down the religion route, and there's no reason why they shouldn't, I suppose, it should have been fundamentalists of any religion they should have been gunning for. Because people who believe they're right, and I'm going to include RTD in this, and will not listen to anybody else and will not listen to any reasoning, are always dangerous.
Oh, totally. And we've been talking about this for a little while on this show. Now, the more he's been saying as the publicity for this version of the show has come out, the more, I mean, he did say, let's say it again, nobody's going to stop him now. Basically, that's what he said. Nobody's going to have the balls to turn around to him and say, that's a crappy script, or that needs to be edited out, or have you really thought about this? Or you're alienating millions of people and your fan base isn't even around as much as it was. As it keeps saying, he had one job. To bring us all back as fans, just give us Doctor Who. And it hasn't quite worked. I want to just say, Paul, hello to Glenn. Good evening, guys. Boom was a great story, I thought. Glenn, if you could let us know exactly what you liked about it, that's fantastic. That would be brilliant. Thanks, Glenn. It's lovely to see you. Go on, Paul.
I was going to say just an article that says it's a new show. It's a new series. It's kind of like season 1. But why, if you don't want to do Doctor Who, do something else.
Yes.
Don't change it just to make it something else.
You've got a whole universe there.
Exactly.
Pick something else.
Yeah, exactly. Go somewhere else.
Is anyone else tired of that Whoniverse thing that comes up at the beginning of the bloody thing as well? Oh God, how embarrassing is that? It's like watching blooming Star Wars or any of the other stuff they do now, which is exactly what they're doing. But I just thought, oh, it's BBC One. Bring the world thing back and get us off. I mean, just so bored with it. Pick of the day. It's nice to see you. Thank you for your comments. The Britishness of this is not religious. What's that mean? Not sure what you mean there, mate, but thank you for your comment. And Lesbian Jim Carner felt more to me like Moff taking the pee out of RTD's approach. And to be honest, the Anglican Space Marines are actually very sympathetic. Even the Doctor says at the end that you need faith, says the Jamie 9526. It's as though if it was Jamie, if it was about the Doctor learning there that he's got to remember some of the aspects of his character, it didn't hit, it didn't land for me. If you know, it didn't land because it just, I don't know. I just found him a little bit sort of.
Didn't he say you have to have faith so you don't have to think for yourself? It was a bit of a slag off.
Something like that, wasn't it? And yet the little girl proves him wrong because her faith is so steadfast in the fact that, you know, her father hasn't died. He's just moved on. So she doesn't feel alone or anything like that. I thought that was more of an interesting take on this whole thing, really, and a little bit more respectful.
I was surprised that Shooty didn't bust into George Michael at that point.
Which particular one?
Because of the faith, you know, I got to have faith.
Oh, I see, faith.
Yes.
Yeah. Douglas is saying to us they're trying to make it divisive for the headlines, and that's our show, Headlines, here on Who's Views, so they can make it as divisive as we want, because we'll talk about it, and we love talking about it, don't we? Because we actually do like this show. It's just that we'd like to see it back properly, please.
If they just if they got a great series of stories, they'd make the headlines.
For good reasons, rather than what we're going to get more of in the British press this week. Doctor Who's ratings go down again because they have. You know, that's the thing, isn't it? Neville is saying to us here, I like the idea of the clerics. I must admit, I can imagine religions becoming paramilitary. It was always entwined with the military in the past. To be honest, we're seeing that happening today, aren't we? Like you know, the state of the world we've got today, and we have seen religions becoming more and more militaristic.
But they didn't need to make it a specific religion. That was unnecessary.
That's right. Or make one up. It's sci-fi.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, look at Dune. I mean, it's science fiction. You can make up something where we all get the gig anyway, but with a wink, because it's not a real one, you know. And
it's a bit Monty Python-esque, isn't it? It's like the hand grenade of Antioch, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, like that, and Holy Grail, it's a bit like that, you know.
Dr. Zoom is saying to us here, if they'd placed UNIT on the planet instead, you know, that would have been something. You're right. Had it been a far future version of UNIT that's gone wrong, because
they would have a cyber brig or something there. Don't do that. No, the cyber brig turned up.
Lisa's leaving us in the chat at the moment. Nice to see you, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. See you again soon. What else we got? Jamie 9526 is saying the Anglican Space Marines are cool and always fight alongside the Doctor. As I see of Eve Ray's fella, I like them. Great, brilliant, absolutely. I mean, I don't think we're saying they're bad. I mean, the characterizations were, for what we got of them, were okay. And on that point, we do have to mention, of course, that we got to see our new companion. Oh, spoilers alert, in case you don't know, but she was there. She was in this particular one. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. It's Faradu Setu. Am I saying her name? Is that right? Good.
That's right,
And here she is making her debut in Doctor Who in Boom. This is what came out after this. I am so excited. The world has finally met Mundy Flynn. It was such a joy to take my first spin in the Whoniverse. I'm so grateful I get to come back for more, but you'll all have to wait and see how that manifests in the new companion role. And then from Russell T. Davies, it's a delight to welcome Verada to Doctor Who earlier than expected, though things are about to get timey-wimey. I hate that phrase. That's the end of Mundy Flint's story, so quite how Verada returns will be revealed next year.
They're repeating themselves again. It's like Martha Jones all over again, isn't it? It's
I can't understand why. I've looked at social media a little bit after the episode last night and today, and I can't understand the fuss over this, because we've had this before. We've had this, as you say, with Martha. We also had it with Karen Gillan. We had it with Peter Capaldi. We had it with Colin Baker, for crying out loud. Sometimes actors get a job and get spied by people in the show, which is the wonderful thing about the business. They're bloody good. We'll have them on the show for good now, And obviously they liked her on this one and spied her and thought, ooh, we can't let her go. And good for her if that's the case. Yeah. Well done. Yeah. But it was nice to see her though, wasn't it? Although, did anyone notice, are these outfits the old Gallifreyan Guard ones?
They look a bit like they've been tarted up a bit, from them. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked a bit to me, but it was nice to see her though, and quite a good performance, I thought, for a character that wasn't in any sense going anywhere.
Yeah, I quite like the relationship with the guy who all the chat about the tattoo and all that, and about going to see the tattoo I did on
that was quite sad.
That was well done.
Yeah,
that was really well done.
Look at the tattoo, and it turns out that he thinks he fancies him and blah 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 and all that stuff. That was quite funny. I quite enjoyed that. Yeah,
and it was quite poignant as well, the way it was done.
Well, I quite like that bit, guys, where he dies off screen, and I actually went, I
felt more for them than I did for Millie and the Doctor, which is slightly freaky.
Although I was quite shocked when they shot Millie, because I thought I was quite surprised by that. I know she was going to die, but it was quite a shocking moment when she got shot by the guy who was trying to protect Mundy.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite an action-packed sequence, and it was one of those interesting scenes because everything in the scene was avoidable. Yeah. So had the guy not turned up, he wouldn't have shot Ruby, or if there'd just been a bit more honesty between the two characters there, and he found out and he'd asked instead of just going bang, bang, bang. And then at the back of that, he dies at the end of that as well, in that whole thing, because she's distracting him and he electrocutes himself or something like that. And then he turns into one of those horrible gooey things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, but I think she played that really well. And if that's the case, because I know she's been in Star Wars, but I didn't really relate to her in that particular.
Yeah, she's in Andor, isn't she?
She's in Andor, and I was more attracted in Andor by the beautiful scenery of Scotland. I must pop up. But no, in this, I thought she was very good, and I actually liked her. So I'm just going to say, looking forward to seeing her in the future. Well done.
I did like the gag about the Monday Sunday thing. That was quite funny as well.
Oh, did you? I think we're going to get a lot of play on words on that.
I'm easily pleased.
Yeah, I think that's coming up on a lot more. What did you guys?
He loves his word gags,
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah,
I like dad gags as well. I'm a certain age, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it was all that funny thing about the dad stuff, wasn't it? What was it? Dad sense or something there. At least it was a dad this time that actually cared for a daughter, from what you lot told me. Rose is saying here, I did not like the episode Death, Disability and Dying. I've got upset and I'm not sure if I want to watch the next week episode. Okay. It's only a TV show. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Matthew is saying to us, Verada is hotter than Millie.
Steady there, Matthew, steady.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm talking about that. Hot. Talking about hot. I've got this article that was saving for a particular reason, and I thought this was going to happen at some point this season. I honestly did. Ta-da! I am physic. Talking to the Radio Times quite a while ago, the headline was Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson on Verado Setu joining Doctor Who. It's hot. There's plenty to look forward to when it comes to this season 15 trio. Bearing in mind this is coming out as season was approaching. It was a bit silly. While Doctor Who season 14 is just around the corner, the exciting news of a TARDIS trio has sent Whovians into overdrive. As season 15 series 2 is shaping up to be fit to be bursting with companions. It was revealed that Verada Setu will officially be joining the series as the Doctor's second companion, with the three set to be quite the dream team. It turns out that things are simply, in quotations, hot, with another companion in the mix, according to stars Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. chatting to radiotimes.com on the blue carpet for the season 14 premiere. Gatwa said of Setu's edition, "We're all really hot." Gibson added, "It's a really hot TARDIS." While the pair's hilarious anecdotes are yet to be decoded, Gatwa went on and said, "No, it's fun. It's been such an amazing energy, dynamic into the TARDIS, and there's 3 of us now, so you're very safe. You're very safe at home." There you go. It's hot, everybody.
It's hot, yes. Yeah. Hopefully they can turn the heating down in the TARDIS like this is in Captain Valva. That'll be fine. Yeah. So.
I wonder if Richard reminding us this is a family show. Yeah. Is it really though these days? I'm not so sure anymore. But you know, it's I wonder if that is a code of like one of them's going to get burnt, crisp and dry, sort of in one of the stories. I don't know.
No, it's just they're all self-absorbed. That's what it is. Yeah.
It could be that, isn't it? Oh yeah, look at us, look at us, look at us. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for your putting things in the chat here. Really good to see you. And also thank you to Kirsty, who is in the chat with us. She couldn't be on the show tonight, but thank you to Kirsty. She's in the chat, looking after you all in the chat. So cheers, Kirst. And I've got her scores for scores on the TARDIS doors coming up, and her the racing game all coming up for you as well. Hot is usually the quality we all look for in a TARDIS team, says Jacob RM. Yeah, but if you are doing that, then of course you won't like the original series. There's nothing hot about that at all.
Not a looker amongst them. Yeah.
Except for when they get to Sarn. That got pretty hot, as the master found out.
Yeah.
Vinx306 is saying Doctor Who has become woke propaganda, simple as that. And that's why it's garbage. Well, was this particular episode woke? Let's speak to my Uncle Sydney and let's get on with the wokeometer. No, just wind it up. It's absolutely fine. We'll tie an elastic band to it or something. Oh, yes, right. Yeah, so this is the wokeometer, of course. All for fun, everybody. Don't forget it's all for fun. What happens with the wokeometer is we show it the Doctor Who episode that we're talking about. It's been listening to all your comments. It's been listening to all of us. And then out of 10, it's going to decide how woke this particular episode was. Isn't it exciting, everybody?
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you. So without further ado, everyone, let's put all the details. You ready, Uncle Sydney? My Uncle Sydney put this thing together. He's very good. You're ready? All right, crank it up. Let's see what the wokeometer made of Stephen Moffat's return to Doctor Who, and boom. Oh,
Yeah.
a 3. It's a 3 out of 10, everybody. Thank you for the work. Thanks for that. Yes, so it's a 3 out of 10. What would you think of that, guys?
Yeah, I suppose that's reasonable.
I was expecting a bit higher, but I was thinking maybe it'd be around a 5, but fair enough.
Not as bad as the previous 2 episodes at all.
I think by episode 8 will be broken by then, I'm sure.
By episode 8 will be broken. Oh no, can you imagine? But thank you for that, Uncle Sydney. Yes, a 3 out of 10 for boom on the wokeometer. It was a refreshing change, though, not to be hit around the head constantly by this show, wasn't it, really? And told this is how you must think and you must be like us. And it's as though Moffat understood that, because he has gone on record before in the past, hasn't he, saying that Doctor Who should and must appeal to everyone, whether you read the Telegraph or the Sun or the Mail, etc., etc., etc. And he understood that, I think, up until the dictates of the BBC.
Yeah.
But it was as though it was on the fence with this particular episode, I thought. No? Yeah?
Yeah.
When it came to that, maybe. What do you guys think of that in there? Let's have a look what you're saying in there, in the chat. Oh, I don't know. You're all very busy. Divining Dragon is saying to us, the insertion of lesbian references or casting choices, but it wasn't on the scale of the Devil's Chord. True. What else we got? No, I think that's it. 3 seems
They're
fair.
always going to do that, aren't they? They're always going to do that. We should probably check how many unsubtle references like that there are. You know, we've had lesbian gymkhanas this week. What will we have next week or the week after? I don't know. A convention of badger shaggers. I don't know. But there'll be something in there somewhere that's just designed to just catch you and irritate you and unnecessary.
Yeah. Good question here from Gashu. Welcome to Whose Views. Nice to see you. What does woke mean? I've been asking that over the last wee while as well, because again, I think that's now a nicer term. I think it's a weak term for the situation that society's getting into itself now. I just think we should just go playing for the actual dictator side of this now. It's an extreme left-wing ideology being dictated and impressed on the world and society, and we have to be told what's going on and how we must think and what we must say, and our language is being compelled and controlled speech is coming in. So I think the word woke now is far too kind, but it's fun and it sounds good when you actually slap on the word ometer to it.
And it's got a lovely scary countdown on there as well, I quite like.
Who was in charge of rehiring RTD? They must have had a reasonable reason and why they went with his choices, says Dr. Zoom. Well, there's a story there. We've spoken about that before, but the answers are available to you if you want to go and look for all that. So it's all very it's out there for you. Let's put it that way. It's out there for you. The look of the show. Let's just talk about the look of the show here. Is it me or did this look a little bit cheap?
I was going to say that actually, because I think the actual ditch they were in, the crater, was a bit. It looked a bit like a set, really.
Well, there's the steps there. Look.
Yeah, and it's a bit like, it's funny. It's an advancement of the perspective set you get in Time Flight. It's a bit like that, isn't it? It's It's like that with a budget, but it still looks cheap. I think the cyclorama bit with the sky and everything looked fabulous, but that actual set was just a bit plasticky looking, bit sort of polystyrene looking.
Well, of course, the background, as we mentioned the other night there, this is all this new technology, isn't it? The video type screen type stuff. So the actors actually see all that, which is great if you're an actor. So you can see all those rings of the planet and you can see the mountains. And you can see that's lovely for an actor because you don't have to imagine it on a green screen anymore. I mean, I love that technology. I'm really interested in it. I think it was used to great effect in The Mandalorian, for example, and then everybody did it. So it's nice to see that they're using the current technologies, I think, even though part of me will miss the old green screen.
It's Underworld on a budget, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. To be fair, I was okay with it because to me, it was going back to my happy place of the 1970s when it was all like that. Let's be honest, it was mostly a gravel pit in Surrey.
Yeah, some fringing around the edge would be quite nice as well. But
yeah, it's true though, isn't it? What they would have had to do, I suppose, previously is they would have had to do in 2005, 2006, gone to the quarry and filmed it in the quarry or built it. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad set. I mean, it does the job. It looks good, but I don't know whether it was the way it was shot, or the film, or whatever you call it now, the processing they're using to actually film the thing now. It just...
It's funny, in that picture you put up, JT, because it's much brighter there, it looks more obviously like a set.
Which one?
The picture you have is shooting on the landmine with the background, because it's much brighter there. In the actual episode, it's lit differently, isn't it? So it's not quite so obvious as it is there, I don't think. Would you agree?
Yeah, possibly, actually. I don't know. I mean, the resolution on these new cameras now, of course, bring out every little detail.
Yeah.
And it looked a bit too much. I like this set very much.
Yeah, that set was good.
That's very Star Warsy, isn't it? Very Mandalorian and Andor-y type sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also did remind me of Time of the Angels, to be honest. It reminded me of that, what they did there with half, if it was half, but not with the budget that this thing might have got. You know, it just reminds me that there was a sort of continuity. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's interesting because they're still on a budget, because in I watched Unleashed because I'm a sado, I know I've told you already, but there's a bit of the set being reused. The Meep spaceship from Star Beast is used as part of the set in there, so they're still recycling things all the time and saving money as much as they can. So
which bit's used again?
It's that round circular spaceship that the Meep had in Star Beast.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the background. Yeah. What was it in this? Because I saw it, but I didn't pay any attention to it.
It's just a bit of damaged machinery, I think, or something that's been bombed.
Oh, I see. Okay. Dividing Dragon is saying to us, Disney is not handling budgetary expenses wisely. Okay. And what have we got here from Richard? Richard is saying to us, the scene looks unconvincing in this still. Should have gone and filmed in a quarry. We love a quarry. Yeah, we do love a quarry, don't we? We absolutely do. What's this from Doug? I quite like the stylized look of the episode. It was nicely lit and a change from a quarry. See, this is great, isn't it? Everybody's sort of got their own points. It's absolutely fantastic.
And Waters of Mars, when they went to the quarry there, that looked fabulous for the surface of Mars, don't you think?
Yeah, and then they added all that early CGI onto it, didn't they? The colouring. You're going to say something there, Ian. Sorry.
I mean, they did similar with what was it? Forgetting the episode titles, where he went down on the hoist and met the devil, in quotes. That was a quarry as well.
Yeah.
They did that in a quarry particularly well. But this particular set, it reminded me of almost like a modern take on the style of set that was where Davros did his Test of the Dalek that Sarah watched.
Yes, I thought that as well.
Or the Genesis. Forgetting every single word now. The army trenches,
right? Okay,
trenches just outside the bunker and everything. It was that kind of studio set, just with more money and a little bit more up to date.
I saw that when the ambulance droids went across the top as well. So that's not as good as that shot the Daleks going across. Skaro
with just the lights in the background.
Yeah,
absolutely. Good point. That absolutely good point. So let us know what you think of all this in the chat here. Also, of course, have you taken to Ncuti yet? I'm going to ask it. We're 4 episodes in. Have you taken to Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor? I'm going to be very honest, as I've said before, and say at the moment I have not. He's still not there for me yet, and I so really want to like this guy. I really want to like his interpretation. I'm going to also be honest and say, I am obviously an adult of certain years now, and I am doing my very, very best, but struggling to divide the actor from the character after what he's been saying. And I am clouded. I'm going to be very honest. I sat down last night thinking, you cannot think about what he said here. Just look for the Doctor. And I did. And then I came away after it thinking, could it possibly, because I've in my head, I'm thinking about what he says all the time and what he has been saying, and he's going on about it. And he's because could that possibly be the reason? Or am I not alone in actually seeing the Doctor in him yet? Let me know in the chat. What do you guys think?
Well, like I said earlier, I kind of felt that he had moments of steel, moments that were quite doctory, quite strong performance, and then he lost it with some of the dialogue, and it flipped too much for me. So I don't see him as yet. I'm hoping I'm going to see him before he leaves. So
because you're convinced he's going, aren't you? You're convinced he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's 2 years. Whereas
I'm convinced that the show's coming off in 2026. I'm convinced with that. Let's have a look. What are you guys saying?
I think we'll both be wrong. Be cancelled next week.
No,
I like my stars to be a bit more. I hate to say it, a bit more of an enigma and not pushing their own agendas onto it. I like to have a sort of my own imagined bit of the character for me. So I hate to say it, but when growing up, it's like the old Hollywood stars that you really knew very little about their background and about their personal lives. That I'm not into this modern cult of fame. That to me doesn't do it for me. So I don't really want to hear his opinions about it. I want him just to be the Doctor. I want to have those two things completely separate.
Yeah. And that shows the TV world and the showbiz world we came from, doesn't it, really? Because I think we're all of that age where we don't want... I mean, we never knew. You could guess, but you never knew any of our original 7 actors' politics because it was never pushed and they would never talk about it out of the show because it was private. They had their private lives, as we mentioned on the show before. But now the private lives are open to anybody that's got a blooming Instagram account.
And Patrick Troughton said it many times as well about, being an actor, you're the character actor. You don't, go for interviews as yourself. You want to keep that enigma, keep that persona of being a character actor, which is what you really should do to keep that suspension of disbelief, I think.
No, it's true. We've got a lot of you responding to that question. Has Gatwa cemented himself as the Doctor to you? Let's have a look and see what you're saying. And what I want to do is stick with us, of course. What I want to do is also ask this question as we go through this series of these reviews of this new version of Disney Who. Divining Dragon is saying, no, he's not the Doctor. He's Gatwa. Daz Blue, welcome to Who's Views. It's nice to see you. Shooty is Shooty. He's just not the Doctor. And Gashu, thank you for you saying, I love Shooty. This episode nailed it for me. I'm really pleased. That's great news. That's great news to hear. So thank you for that. Thank you for telling us that. Paul Richards, no, Gatwa doesn't have the stern qualities of previous Doctors. Okay. Cosmic Gaz is saying to us, when John Pertwee played Wurzel Gummidge, he was clearly trying to appeal to scarecrows.
And he did it so well. Yeah,
he did it brilliantly, didn't he? Yeah. He's not the Doctor, says Superlev. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for coming on to the show. Wild Hunter is saying to us here, father dies, his AI created, AI saves everyone, the doctor was irrelevant.
He often is in New Who, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's never the star of his own show, really, is he? They sort of make it either the companion or somebody that's around him at the time. John is saying to us, Shooty has no gravitas.
That's Mavitus you're thinking of there.
Oh, stop that. I forgot all about that. Who's remembering that now? Paul Roughton nearly had me here. I thought this was a good one. And he says, I adore Shooty. He's the best doctor of all time. Not really. Well done, Paul. You've just got me on that one. Well done. Cheeky. Gary Jones is saying to us, how long before Shooty gets moved on? How long before
Any minute now.
Half an hour, hopefully.
Richard is saying Gammon Gatwa is a ham actor. He is playing the Doctor, not the Doctor. That's good. As far as I'm concerned, the Doctor is still Peter Capaldi at this moment in time. I'm really there with you, Richard. You know that. Dr. Zoom is saying to us, not wowed with Gatma. Matt Smith came in with a bang and left with a bang. Gatwa comes in with a whimper, and who knows where he's going to go. Oh, God. Oh, gosh.
Mind boggles on that one, yeah.
Yeah, pick of the day. What you're saying to us: 2 poor episodes and an okay one. Shooty has poor episodes and writing to work with. He seems to be loving them though, but I do agree with that. He's. It's as though he's been given those scripts, and it's apparently he's done his homework. Apparently he's watched Pertwee, because that's why Pertwee is his favorite Doctor. He went away and watched Pertwee. I can't see that in his version though.
No.
If there's any sort of element of being able to say, "Oh, that's what Doctor Who is."
There's no Pertwee in his Doctor.
No.
Oh no, and
No.
the third Doctor Ian's a big Pertwee fan as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer it if he just didn't even watch Pertwee. You know, just
Pertwee's mentioned in the final episode, isn't it?
yeah, he needs to
Some
keep his
back
grubby
or
little
something.
protuberances off Pertwee.
Yeah, God
I mean, he
help us,
doesn't make it as the Doctor for me. He has nothing. Although there was a glimmer. I had no problem with his casting. I think, as I said before, I knew nothing about him, so I was prepared to give him a chance. And being black meant bugger all to me. You know,
because we're normal people. We're okay.
Yeah, Patterson Joseph would have been a great choice for me. Other skin colours are available, to quote my colleague there, Paul. But there was this one little bit right at the very end, which went on too long anyway, and was very schmaltzy. But when they were looking at the planet rings, and there was holographic dad next there to daughter, and compassionate squaddy, and everything, and they were stood with them, and he looked for a split second and said, "Right, come on." That was sort of like Doctor for me, because time for him goes so much differently. It was, I could believe that was the Doctor. Yep, come on, we've watched it for 3 seconds. That's long enough. And I thought, oh, how surprising, a little bit of Time Lordy character. That was it. And I've never seen anything in the other 4 episodes so far, and my expectations aren't high.
Yeah.
So the thing that got me, I remember it said earlier about the ambulance robot saying that Ruby was 3080 or whatever. Then the Doctor says towards the end of the episode, "You need to go. Your lifespan's too short for this. Let's go." And did he not hear what the robot said, or am I misunderstanding it then?
Yeah, it's because she was in the future, right. Isn't it? So it's basically the thing said, we've calculated when you were born, it was 3,000 something years ago. It doesn't mean she is 3,000 something years. It just means at that point she is, because she's traveled through time.
I thought when the dad died, it came up as 42. That's
he was.
So,
yeah, so he's 42 when he died.
Right.
Because Ruby's traveled in time, she's 3,000 years in the future.
Okay, well, we'll pause on that and keep that in mind for next time as well.
Paul Richards is telling to us, Gatwa goes OTT. He's lightweight. Just Jordan is saying to us, I've seen glimpses, but then they throw in all this colloquial language, and then he's Eric and not the Doctor. Yeah, totally agree. I've seen more of Eric in his performance. Yes. Yeah, you have
definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. We're with you there, Just Jordan. And Shooty has the chops to pull it off, but I think his take is not gelling with me. He keeps breaking the spell for me. Matt is saying go back to Sex Education. He can't, because they've just axed it, because the last few series were just awful. And Raymond is saying, no, I'm 4 episodes in and I don't get any Doctor vibe with him. He's Shooty, and the bang comment is another sneaky line put in to annoy. Divine Dragon said, Jodie perfectly said, Cult of Fame.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Have we got any more? John Cartwright is saying to us here, no, cannot act. Shooty Gatwa plays Shooty Gatwa in everything he does.
I was going to ask, has anyone else here seen anything else apart from Sex Education that he's done to make a comparison?
No. I only know for Sex Education. I haven't seen
Because
anything
I don't know
else.
if anyone's dared to watch Barbie or not. I don't know, but that
No.
one.
Oh no, I have seen Barbie.
Right.
Have you?
But he was just 10.
So he's in it, yeah, and it's much the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not a
And there
lead
really
role,
wasn't
is
much.
it?
He wasn't in it much.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So at the moment, Richard is saying to us he's almost there, but undercut by the script.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Richard. And he's not the Doctor, says Darren, very firmly there. It's not looking good at the moment from our Who viewers. Let's see what's going to happen in the future, shall we? We've got several more episodes to go of this night of this series. Whoop.
This dream of a show, yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mentioning of bad scripts. But to be quite honest, bad scripts have been in this show for the last 10 years, haven't they?
Yes,
they were riddled
Yes.
through Capaldi. And do they not notice that?
Yeah.
Why don't they notice that? You know, and why do the same people keep doing it if it's shit? Well,
There's a slight problem though, because in classic Who, and you may shoot me down here in a million flames, in classic Who there were dreadful moments, but the thing that held it together, or the thread that worked, was the fact that the actors believed in it and still tried their very utmost to carry it off and kept it pure Doctor Who, if that makes sense. So even if it was awful, I still sometimes revisit the ones that are not great.
Yeah.
The problem with these ones is, once you've seen one that's absolutely abysmal, like I will never watch Space Babies. Well, I did watch Space Babies again, but for this show, I will never revisit that ever again, because it's sad. It's like watching the death of something you love.
Yeah. Well, it is.
Can I just back up that statement that you made? I think you're right, because they're not playing it straight. They're sending it up.
Yes.
And they're very, very smug about it as well. It's like we're self-aware.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It's not. They're not believing the situation. As again, get back to Pertwee, you can't send up a send up, and that's exactly what they're doing.
And I hate to say, but for someone who grew up, as a kind of nerdy kid and a bit, I did not have a happy time a lot of the time at school. It was not a great place for me. I did not enjoy my life with a lot of my peers. This was pure escapism for me. It made me feel like there was somebody that understood, just, wanted me to be part of this. The problem I'm getting with the new Who is I don't think they want me to be part of it anymore. And that's difficult.
Yeah.
It's also, should you keep saying that the Doctor can be anyone? He's not an everyman. He's an outsider. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
But this is the whole point. We've talked about this on the headlines as well. It's so obvious that Russell wants this based in 2024 because he said that's what he wants, and therefore they're playing it for 2024. Jodie, I totally agree with what they haven't wanted us for ages. They haven't wanted the original fans for ages because they want to make it their vote. They haven't got the balls or the bravery to go and say, right, we're going to make our own science fiction show. We're going to make our own thing.
I feel classic Who was for everybody.
Yeah.
And the sad fact of the matter is that they are excluding with this. It actually feels a little bit like being back at school when you're excluded from stuff and you have no idea why or what you did wrong or why you've annoyed people.
Yeah.
It's harmful and it's hurtful.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Go on, Ian. Sorry.
It's those people that constantly and loudly preach inclusivity.
Yes.
That are ultimately the most exclusive of all of them.
Yeah.
They create the division they claim to be offended by.
Yeah.
They're the worst offenders.
Totally.
Always.
Absolutely. And it's continuing. It's going on and on and on and on all the time, isn't it? Going on all the time. Sorry about this. What's going to happen now? Okay, let's get over it. Hello, Who's Views Hotline? Can I help you?
Hello, is that Who's Views? Look, I'd like to complain about the last 3 episodes of Doctor Who, or legend Doctor Who. Honestly,
Okay.
who is that bloke prancing around? He's an absolute prat. He's absolutely dreadful. And as for the storylines, they don't make any bloody sense. What was that, love? Sorry, got to go. Dinner's on.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for that. Oh, thank you. Bye. Oh, yeah.
Is that
so-
Eccleston again?
Oh, goodness me, that's what happens. Mr. Angry Fan is not happy at all at the moment, is he? But there we go on that one. Gosh, but no, you're watching Who's Views Reviews. We are looking at Boom, which saw, of course, the return of Stephen Moffat. And, well, if the viewing public here in the United Kingdom have anything to say, they don't care anymore. We've said it last week on the 2 shows we did last week. Let's have a bit more of a look of this now. It's time for the ratings game. Yes, so as we said at the top of the show, Boom got an overnight BBC One rating of 2.04 million. Again, as I said before, it's continuing a trend that started in 2018, where viewers leave every single week. What is going on with this? It's just not attracting the British public at all. Now, I'm going to say yet again, this is the overnight rating. On Who's Views Reviews, we're only looking at the overnight rating. We will come back to the consolidated during a headlines or some other show. But from our point of view, we're only looking at the overnights because personally, I like to see how many people put bums on seats that night on Showtime, how many people came to watch the show live. We have seen certain successes. Now, I do see a lot of fans on the internet, of course, saying, oh, television has changed and going through with all the industry propaganda. Television's changed. People don't watch like they used to. Actually, they should be watching it more because you can get it on a bloody phone now, can't you? You can get television everywhere now, not like it was in our days where you had 3 channels, then 4, and you were stuck with it. And you had to video it when they came along, otherwise you missed it. So it's more accessible now. So, but also from my point of view as well, you can't prove to me it's the British public sitting down to watch this thing now. And the other side of it is, as I've said before, we've got fans that go back saying, I've watched The Devil's Cord 24 times now. What about you? So I'm not too sure. But for this show and for this ratings game, we go on the overnights because it's a bit more fun, and also because we're here on the Sundays reviewing it. Now, last week,
if they watch Devil's Cord 24 times, they should be sectioned, allegedly.
I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, awful. Right. So we've got this coming up. Now, last week when we did the Devil's Cord review, we were predicting, of course, here on the ratings game, what would happen with Boom. Kirsty went for higher at 2.6. Ian went lower at 2.3. Paul went lower at 1.7 and Jodie went lower at 1.8, and I squeezed in there with 1.9. Ta-da! So that's what we all went for. We were not far wrong though, everybody. It wasn't too bad at all. Huge thank you to everybody that joined us last week for the ratings game. We had so many of you giving us your ratings. I've got the list here. It takes 3 pages for everybody that actually given it. So I can't read them all out now. But if you got anywhere near this, and there were a few of you that got near this, congratulations. But for the moment, we're going to be looking now at the next story, which is called 73 Yards. So I am now going to get myself into character and feel my motivation as we go right now to play the ratings game. And I am now going to be asking my esteemed colleagues all here what they think is going to happen in the next episode. And ratings game for overnights. Starting with Jodie.
I'm going to go for 1.85.
Jodie.
Definitely 1.85.
73 yards. It's going to get, what did you say?
1.85.
1.85 million. Third Dr. Ian, what do you think 73 Yards is going to get on the overnight rating of BBC One?
I think they're shitting bricks, and I think they will probably throw a load of advertising at it before the episode. So I think it will still drop, but only marginally. So I'm going to say 2 on the dot.
Oh. Ian, looking forward to Dot and Bubble by saying on the dot 2. Not 2 people, 2 million. The way it's going, though, it could actually be just 2 people. Paul, what are you going to give the overnight figure for the ratings game for 73 yards?
I was going to say 2, but Ian beat me to it. So I'm going to stick with my 1.7.
Paul is sticking, but it is a hot night.
It is. It's very hot.
And he's going with 1.7. The anticipation is incredible. Personally, I think if it's another nice day next week, the British public have obviously proved they've got better things to do. I'll be on some sort of rally somewhere. So from my point of view, I think this is going to go to 1.9. Let's move to the chat and see if anybody's playing the ratings game in the chat. Huge Janus is saying 1.98. He loves saying that, so I have to say it live on the show in front of hundreds of people every week. Cybermatch Strikes is saying 1.75. And Stephen Braddock is saying to us, I got it so wrong last time, the viewers are deserting it now, so 1.7. Who would have thought we would ever see the day where we get to the 1 millions in our game here, everybody?
The people watch television so differently these days.
Apparently so.
It's not linear.
Yes.
It's not linear. Apparently they do. Excuse me, just fiddling with the Gilbert there. Freezer is saying to us, Boom got the same amount of views as the Devil's Court, slightly down. So I assume 2 million again. Raymond, 1.6. Dr. Zoom is saying Boom could possibly bring a few more back in, 2.2. We've been joined here by Duck Soup Productions, lovely to see you, with 2.0. Paul Roughton is saying to us, even if it was peeing it down next week, I'd rather walk in the rain than watch this. Dr. Zoom is also saying, does this include American viewers? Absolutely not. BBC One overnights. Not Disney. Doctor Who 1963, 1.83. Dino V, 1.9, depending on the weather. Tyler Durden Smile, welcome to Who's Views, 1.75. Digby is saying there may be a bounce, 2.2. Why would there be a bounce? John Cartwright is saying to us 2.05. And Alien Airplanes, I would like to be hopeful and say 2.5 million, but the more realistic number will probably be 2 million. Thomas is saying to us here, this just refers to how many people watch it live on BBC One, not iPlayer and not Disney Plus. You're quite correct, Thomas. Nice to see you. Welcome. I'm glad you come back. Neville Watkins is saying to us 1.89. Calgris, welcome to Who's Views, 1.98. Doug is saying 1 million. It's about Welsh mythology. No one will care but me. I'm Welsh born. Well, I'm sure there's the old Gladys out there that will. I know I do. And I'm sure Bedweer does, even though he's not watching. Merrick Wells is saying 1.93. Nice hat there. I like hats. Thank you for that. And Superlev is saying to us, have Disney published any viewing figures? And 1.5 million. No, they haven't yet. We are waiting for them. Apparently they do things in quarters. Divine Dragon is saying 1.8, but that might be generous. I think it probably is. And the Mecronom, which is probably the more Doctor Who alien type name I've seen in many, many months now, 2.0. The ratings will improve next week when 2 people on a border collie called Bob are added to the figures. You're assuming the border collie won't be out.
It's Saturday night after all. We're always like partying on a Saturday, border collies.
We have to remember that border collies are fairly intelligent.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Stridey. I hope I've said that right. Nice cat. We all know Doctor Who is doing poorly. It's because of the warm weather and the power cuts, the northern lights and the water shortages. You're quite correct.
And Brexit.
Yeah.
And sheer boredom. We used to go shopping, but we don't have them left in the United Kingdom anymore, so we've had to find something else to do. We don't even know any decent pubs anymore. Thomas Baker is saying to us 2.2 million for 73 yards. It's the most anticipated episode from fans, but if it disappoints, the ratings will drop. I'm going to add there, if I may, Thomas, further.
Is it most anticipated episode? Is it?
That was supposed to be Moffat's, wasn't it? There was supposed to be a
Yeah.
Moffat.
I thought it was Moffat's, but
Yeah.
Thomas seems to think it's that one. Bedweir is saying to us, Bedweir is always watching Who's Views, and he's going to give us 1.95 million.
That's just for us.
Yeah, subscribe.
Yeah.
Oh dear. And Jamie Knight is saying to us, I'm in 1989, denial fingers in ears, la 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 la. It's amazing how history seems to be repeating itself here.
Well, it's amazing that in 1989 the figures were better, though.
Yeah. Kirsty is saying to us, Bedweir Goodrich is always here. Kirsty, what was your score for next week? I've forgotten. I've put it on a piece of paper and forgotten, so let me know again. Thank you, Kirsty. Kirsty will hopefully be joining us back on the show again next week. Gareth is saying to us 1.9. Wow. Right. I'm going to call it on the ratings game for that one. Thank you, everybody. Cyber Matt Strikes is saying to us the show was better in 1989.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
No, we can't really, can we? Okay, so I'm calling it there. Thank you very much for that one. We will see next week what is going to happen with the overnight rating. Well, it's all go on this show, isn't it?
I wonder if they're regretting now dropping it on the iPlayer. I wonder if it'd been different if it was just broadcast or not.
Do you know what, though? I don't think they had any choice. I think that was a Disney dictate. I think it was absolutely, it's actually clear as mud when you look at it, isn't it? Disney came along and said, this is how we do things. You BBC lot, we do things where we drop the first 2 episodes and then we drop it whenever we like to and blah, 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 blah. And the BBC went, oh, is that how you do things, Mr.
Whatever
Mouse?
you say,
No, that's
yes.
fine. We'll do it as well. We'll make sure BBC One are putting the 2 episodes back to back on the Saturday, and we'll also put them all on the iPlayer at the same time that you want it put around the world. Thank you very much. Good night. And that's what they did. That's all they did, wasn't it? Because we all know that it's totally dangerous.
I don't think it made any difference to the viewing figures, to be honest. It'd still be quite low if they were just on
I
the
agree.
Careful, because that mouse gets absolutely everywhere, doesn't he? It's awful. It's absolutely terrible. You never know what he's going to take over next. But there you go. That's the thing. But that's what's happened here. And it's a shame, really, because... But then again, guys, I think the BBC, the British public are out of love with this show now and have been for a number of years, and I can't see anything bringing them back. If David Tennant didn't work, and when they did come back for David Tennant, they got a lecture or 2. I can't see them staying with it now. I think it's done.
Yeah, I think it is, sadly.
But there you go. I want to move to this one and get everybody's opinions on this article here from radiotimes.com. Talking of ratings, Doctor Who's overnight ratings aren't the full story, but they still matter. Things are very different this time around. As Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson begin their first full season on Doctor Who, the show received close to its lowest overnight viewership ratings ever. But as any fan knows, that's far from the full story. Following the BBC's deal with Disney, it was previously announced that for the first time ever, new episodes will debut on BBC iPlayer at midnight to coincide with them dropping around the world on Disney+. It was a controversial move, to say the least. Controversial, that's been really, really quite nice. But hardly surprising in the streaming age. See, they're doing it again, aren't they? They're just, it's propaganda. It's propaganda. As viewing habits change for better or for worse, our favourite shows must change with them. Right. Really. It goes on to say, so for the first time, a huge proportion of fans will have stayed up until the early hours to watch the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday encounter a baby farm run by babies before traveling back in time to the 1960s to meet the Beatles and save humanity from the villainous Maestro. It marks a new era for the Doctor Who fandom and is somewhat reminiscent of when the Harry Potter generation would queue up outside bookshops at midnight. I wonder where they got that from. Instead of clicking TV on 5 minutes before broadcast for fear of missing anything. Many of us are refreshing iPlayer as the clock hits midnight. Well, we'll wait and see what happens with that one, shall we? One thing that has also changed as a result of this is overnight ratings. Now, linear ratings have hardly been an accurate measure of success for a long time because fewer and fewer people watch TV live. You would think that's obvious, although someone tried telling the various news outlets using the viewing figures for a cheap headline to trash the new season. Here we go again, everybody. Do you see what's happening now? Of course, the 2.6 million and 2.4 million overnight ratings figures for Space Babies and the Devil's Crap Code will end up being just a fraction of the total audience. Considering the episodes were first released on iPlayer a full 19 hours previously, and we'll have a home on the iPlayer Whoniverse forevermore, it was inevitable that fewer people than usual will be watching when the show aired that evening on BBC One. There are plenty of other reasons for those ratings too. Some have said the good weather meant people weren't inside watching Doctor Who live. Some have blamed the month of May for being TV's dead spot. There are hundreds of reasons the ratings ended up as they are, some more impactful than others. But that doesn't mean these ratings don't matter. For one thing, it's pretty incredible that they weren't the lowest ever. No, that was this one. These 2 episodes had been available for almost 19 hours already, and people still tuned in live, proving that, even in the streaming age, demand is still there for event TV. Slightly less sentimentality, it's going to be incredibly important for the higher-ups at the BBC and Disney Plus to see who's watching, how many are watching, and how they're watching. The ratings for those who watched on iPlayer won't be out for a few more days. They're unveiled 7 days after broadcast, but I have no doubt they'll be big, especially if that 10 million figure for Gatwa's first episode, Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road, is anything to go by. Let's face it, ignoring the naysayers and the trolls, which we are part of course, Doctor Who is at a hugely exciting point in its history. Having turned 60, it's got a fresh new feel thanks to a significant increase in budget, a showrunner who doesn't just know the ropes, but basically created them, and 2 powerhouses of acting as its leading stars. But it also has a brave new world for Doctor Who as it embraces the streaming age. There have already been bumps in the road, for instance, the reaction to the midnight release time in the UK, but that's all part of the journey. So as the powers that be decide where to take our favourite TV show in the future, as it, fingers crossed, heads to its 70th birthday, its 80th and beyond, that's really pushing into fantasy world there, knowing how people are watching and where they're watching is going to be essential. Should we take those 2.6 and 2.4 million figures and declare them the be-all and end-all? Absolutely not. They should be taken with an absolutely gigantic handful of salt. But knowing that, with the episodes already available and spoilers galore out there, more than 2 million people are still sitting down on a Saturday night to watch Doctor Who does matter. And I would say it's a very, very good sign.
10 million for the Christmas special? What a load of nonsense.
That's a delusional spin piece.
10 million. Oh, dear.
It does seem like spin. It does seem like propaganda, doesn't it? It's reusing some of the stuff that Russell has said before as the show was coming back. It's putting stuff in there that we saw during the Chibnall era. It's blaming the fact that people watch television differently. However, at the beginning of the year, as we reported here on Whose Views as part of our headline show, there was a drama where people actually sat down to watch it live in their millions, and that was Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. And yet again, I'm going to say it. If you make good television that people want to see, they will sit down on the broadcast night as of transmission and they will watch it. And it doesn't look as if Doctor Who falls into that category anymore, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah. I mean, historically, when the Doctor was on in classic series, when it went on during the summer, it did lose a bit of the ratings, but not to this extent.
Well, yeah, and as I say, I mean, we will be looking at the consolidateds when they come out. We will have a little show. We will have let's all reconvene and talk about those consolidateds for the first 2.
But I thought it was maybe 7 days. This is nearly 3 weeks, and we don't
They'll
have
probably be around tomorrow. They'll probably be around tomorrow, to be honest.
But it'll be like 3 weeks worth of figures, though, not 1 week. Then
we won't be rushing to it, everybody. For Whose Views, just to let you know, we're grown-ups. We've got lives. We'll get around to it at some point, I can assure you. I just want to say thank you again. We showed this on Thursday. Bobby D75, thank you very much, mate, in the chat. He sent me this. This was the most popular shows on Disney Plus as of last week, the week that's just passed. Number 1 was Bluey. Number 2 was Grey's Anatomy. And number 3 was Modern Family, which finished in 2019, allegedly, on American television. So they're repeats. So they're the top 3. Doctor Who got into the top 5 in number 4 and then dropped. Oops. Could this be saying more than we think it could be? Again, I can guarantee you that once we get everybody the viewing figures from Disney, that's a show in itself. That isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, listen, everybody, it's that time now. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has joined us tonight. We've had an incredible audience. Thank you so much for joining us here on Who's Views. We're not quite finished yet because this is the part of the show, but we all get to put scores on the TARDIS doors. But I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for all your chat. Great to see you all. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel because quite frankly, it's great to have you all there for us when we look through these things. Honest to goodness, and review them. And let's see. I think the majority of us are agreeing with this. Boom didn't quite get there with us. We'll find that out in a minute. But let's see if it improves with the next one, shall we? In the chat, what I'd like you to do now is, it is coming up to scores on the TARDIS doors. If you could start out of 10, giving you your marks out of 10, please, in the chat. Then I'll come to the panel, the Whotastic panel, and ask them about it. In the meantime, though, where are we going next? Yeah, episode 4 is on its way. Episode 4 already, halfway through with this one, everyone, and it is 73 yards. And I'm not going to lie, this is the second one out of these 8 episodes that I'm quite looking forward to, genuinely, and it's because of these two. This is the episode where we have Dame Siân Phillips, one of the last remaining British acting royalty we've got left, let's face it. It was very nice to me as well. She liked me. And the doctor that I think we should have had, Aneurin Bernard, is in this one as well. There he is there. I lost 20 quid on him because I bet on him that had to be the new doctor, and Ncuti Gatwa got it. Still quite bitter about it. But yeah, so that's going to be 73 yards. So come back and join us. Right. Let's get into this bit now. It's time for the scores. Okay, so something new for this version of Who's Views Reviews is the scoreboard. Let's just see where we're going. It's usually out of 50 because there are usually 5 of us on the panel. And so therefore 10 marks each. Space Baby's got 3.5 out of 50. And the Devil's Cord got 4.5 out of 50. That's where we're standing right now. That is awful. They're the lowest marks ever on this channel in the year we've been going. Right, so I'm going to start with Joe. Joe, out of 10, what are you going to give Boom, please, as your score?
I'm going to give it 6.
Oh, right, there we go. 6, okay. Thank you very much for that. That is quite high, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's still a Moffat girl.
Sorry.
Don't apologize. She's giving it a 6. Third Doctor Ian, what are you going to give Boom, please?
It's for the visuals, a slightly impressed Millie, a slightly improved Millie, although the visuals did remind me of times past rather than a good story, but it still didn't do it for me. I will give it 1.
1, okay. And Paul?
There's a lot of good bits in it for me, but a lot of inconsistencies. But I think it's a massive improvement on the first 2, which wasn't difficult. But I'm going to give it a higher score than Ian. I'm going to give it 5.
5. I do have Kirsty's score. So I will add that into this show as well and put it onto the scoreboard for us on the Whotastic panel. For myself, as I said here, I still can't see Ncuti yet as the Doctor. I do think it would have been, as I said earlier, if this had been a Moffat season with 13 episodes, I think it would have been one of those episodes where we all went, oh, that was all right. Because that's exactly what I did last night. Oh, that's all right. That was okay. Oh, I've got flying here, excuse me, live. That was okay. It's still a bit meh for me. But it was a huge improvement on the previous 2 pieces of crap that they gave us. I'm going to give it a 5. A 5. There you go. All right, then. So let's have a look at you lot in the chat. Thank you very much. George is saying 5 out of 10, significant improvements, but not great. Kev, nice to see you, Kev. We want to be entertained, not preached at. I watched the first Eccleston episode, Rose, and it seemed a completely different show. It's a totally different show, and you can feel it now, can't you? Yeah. Douglas is saying to us 5. One Shot One, welcome to Whose Views. Nice to see you. 4. Kev is back again. He's giving it a 4. Disney's looking for the exits of Gary Jones for more reasons than one, if I hear rightly. Frank is saying to us 3 out of 10, and Matt is giving it 6 out of 10. Limekins, 5 out of 10, a point for each tear the Doctor shed, with an additional point for forcing him to stand still for a while. And Darren Apken is giving it 8. Woo! That's the highest we've had, I think, so far of this version of Doctor Who. So thanks for that, Darren. I'm delighted you enjoyed it. Well done, mate. Paul Roughton is saying to us 5 out of 10. It was average and nothing more. Yeah, that's the meh bit, isn't it? Dr. Zoom, 5. What else we got here? Alpha Storm, 4 out of 10. We're all in a similar park here, isn't it? It's quite weird. Crimpling to Bloom, nice to see you, mate. A generous 5 out of 10. Divining Dragon, 5 out of 10. Richard is saying to us, actual figures are meaningless. It's the ticks in the boxes that count. You are naughty. You are very naughty. George Pelipper, nice to see you. Welcome to Whose Views. 8 out of 10. Problem being, my mate Problem Being is here. 0 out of 10. I want Doctor Who, not Disney Wholander. Yeah, so another 0. Thank you, Lee. Lovely to see you. John, 5 out of 10. Raymond is giving it 5 out of 10. Alien Airplanes is giving it 9.5. Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's great to hear. Will, brilliant. And Jamie is here as well, saying 8 out of 10, but I've lowered Space Baby to 6 out of 10 and Devil's Core to 7 out of 10. Is that because of the effect that this one had? Okie dokie. Polysemia, I hope I'm saying your name right here. 1 out of 10. Who Janus? 5 out of 10. That always, I'm smiling because it always reminds me of a film called Beautiful People. No, what was it called? Beautiful Thing back in the 90s, where one of the lads at school says to the teacher, after the teacher says, "Oh, what's that lad's name?" "Hugh Janus, sir." "Oi, Hugh Janus." Anyway, it made me laugh. Darren Apken is saying she's Welsh royalty. She is. She was nice to me as well. Looking forward to seeing her. Looking forward to it. Michael Webster saying, boom, 6 out of 10. John Cartwright, 1 out of 10. One step nearer towards the abyss. Now, there's a story. Problem Being is also saying, Aneurin Bernard should have got the part. I can't lost money on it. He would have been perfect as the Doctor for me. He honestly would have done. Richard is saying, I didn't watch, so I didn't give it a score. Fair enough. 6 for Boom. Bit weak by Moffat's previous standards, but definitely the best episode of this run yet so far. He says with some sort of optimism there. 4 out of 10 from Gemma. Hello, Gemma. Have you been there all the time? Nice to see you. Better, but still not great. I'm just not invested in the characters, which is what we were trying to articulate earlier. Yeah. But lovely to see you, Gemma. Hope all's well. And Pete Davis is saying 2 out of 10. Aneurin Bernard probably dodged a bullet, says Neville. Oh, actually, that's a point. Yeah. That's a point. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Because can you imagine if Aneurin Bernard was getting these ratings?
Yeah.
I think the trouble is, I think to go for another Gammon would have been very difficult. I think that's the problem, you know.
He's such a good actor, though, and he has that look of the Doctor. Well, I'll talk about that more next week. Moriarty, multiple by 1.2 for the proper weighted scores. We never talk about Murray Gold's music. I wonder why that is.
Oh, can I make a point about that? When the Doctor, all the tension was lost when they put that crappy Doctor theme on when he ran towards the landmine, didn't you think?
I honestly can't remember any of the music.
It was just totally awful.
And I love my scores, as you know, but can't remember them. Thomas is saying to it, everyone is probably just salty for the first 2 episodes. Yeah. I give it 10 out of 10, says Freezer. Wow, thank you so much. That's lovely. Thank you. And Tyler Durden Smile, 5 out of 10. Gareth Morgan is saying 73 yards is how far we need to run from the telly and electrical devices when it comes out. I hope not, because it's got those 2 wonderful actors in that I really love, so I hope not. Stephen Braddock is saying to us 6 out of 10. Paul, the 4. Richard Moore is saying it was better, so 6. Dada Debasa is saying to us 5 out of 10. Digby, thank you for this. I didn't watch, but I enjoyed listening to the review. Thank you very much. And David Gulvin, nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. 5.56 had Stephen Moffat not edited by RTD or Disney. Doug Sims is also saying to us 7 out of 10. It's not a classic, but it was decent Who. And Nurin Bernard instantly looks like the Doctor. Let's see what they do to him next week to make him not look like the Doctor.
I bet he gets killed. He's white. There you go.
Yeah, probably. I bet he's being a baddie. Just Jordan, this is a 6 out of 10 for me. And Rob McCord is saying to us 4 out of 10. A shadow of a memory of what a Moffat series episode was like. A classic switch and bait, mark my words. And Dino V, Dino 5 is saying 3 out of 10. That is 3 out of 30 for the 3 episodes so far. Lex is here. Hello, Lex. Nice to see you. Thank you for your emails. Sorry, I can't read them out. As you can see, we're quite busy on the show. But 3 out of 10 for amazing sets and special effects. Mark is saying 4 for content, 10 for Shooty actually getting paid as an actor. The Mecronon is saying 4. Genesis of the Daleks had the dock step on a mine, but done in 5 minutes. Cybermatch Strikes is saying 6 out of 10. Wild Hunter, 4 out of 10. One Shot One, thank you. I'll definitely be back. That's what we like to hear, isn't it, guys? Thank you so much.
Yes.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Komodo, 1.5 out of 10. And Atom is here with us, everybody, saying 4 out of 10. It was quite boring, but better late than never. Yes, it's always nice to see you. Hope it's well for you. Lovely to see you. Thomas has given us the rundown. Space Baby, 6 out of 10. The Devil's Code, 7 out of 10. Boom, 7.5 out of 10. And Gilliam is with us. Nice to see you. If this is for Boom, I got to say, kind of enjoyed it. 6 out of 10. It reminded me of the library story.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm missing that. Stuart is with us as well. Hi, Stu. 1 out of 10, but only because it was better than the drivel the previous week. Okay. What else? Any more? Anybody? The music never bloody stops, says Jacob. That reminds me of something.
Disney.
It's Disney. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to have that thing. Thank you. Have you got any more? Get those in now, because I'm going to close the doors on the TARDIS door very, very quickly. Nope, that's it. Okay, I'm closing the door on that one. Thank you, everybody, for your scores on the TARDIS doors. Absolutely fantastic. Wow. Just remember, though, everybody, as we close this particular review, that we are always here for you with our special service for very few grotzits. Well, that's it. Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. We had an awful lot of you in there. Thank you so much for all your chat. And for those of you who are just watching and couldn't come into that, lovely to see you all as well. If you haven't subscribed to Who's Views, please subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot more to come. Yes, because next time, as we said, it's 73 yards. So join us for that. Thank you so much to Kirsty, who was in the chat, even though she's supposed to be working, everybody. So join us next time for our review of 73 yards, for the Wokeometer, for the ratings game, and for the scores on the TARDIS doors as well. We've also got some bits and pieces coming for you in the week, so don't forget to ring that bell so you know when we've got another show coming your way. To Jodie, to Third Doctor Ian, and for Paul, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed tonight.
Yep.
Very much so. Thank you. Yes.
And
Thank
until you're very well, listen, let's all go and get a cup of tea and something to eat. And until we all see you again here on Who's Views, take care of yourselves. Have a great week. We'll see you again very shortly. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.